Welcome to Read Radio, the official podcast of Fraser Valley Regional Library.
Hi everyone. Today we're joined by R.S. Twells. R.S. Twells is a local author of the Agent Bennet Saga, an action-packed thriller for teens. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Perfect. So we've hosted you before. We had a podcast with you, I believe, last year.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Is it last year already?
Yeah.
And we were talking about your book series, and you had one last book coming out, and the final one is finally out. If this is the very first podcast that someone is listening to you and the very first introduction, can you describe your series in 10 words or less?
Yes, I can. Not that I want to.
Or briefly describe it.
Okay. So in 10 words and less, the Agent Bennet Saga follows twin brothers Bennett and Colin as they're recruited by a mysterious organization and trained to basically do the impossible. That's probably like my shortest description of it as an author. Whenever I'm told to hey, can you write the synopsis, the little piece on the back of the book? I'm like, I would rather write a completely new book than write a synopsis on the back of the book. I hate describing what my book is about. I'm just like, well, if you would just read it from chapter 1 to chapter 40, you would know what it's about.
Yeah, so, the description is the 4 books I wrote.
Yeah, it's right there, guys. So yeah, most authors actually feel the same way. They hate writing the synopsis. They hate trying to come up with something short and snappy to say to get readers to read their book. But yeah, it follows twin brothers and their friend group at the school, and they accomplish the impossible, which is my absolute favorite thing to get teens to do, because that's why I fell in love with YA. Is I was reading about teenagers doing the impossible in The Hunger Games and Divergent, heck, even in Twilight. I love the fact that these teenagers were just being elevated and allowed to feel their feelings and go out and do tasks that feels like they're not allowed to do because adults are pushing them down. So that was kind of my main motivation a little bit of how can I give these teenagers center stage and kick the adults to the side?
Nice. Excellent. So this is your final book in this series. This is the 4th book. How does it feel to have published the last novel and have the story come to its final conclusion? Does it feel like a relief? Does it feel kind of sad? Mixture?
There are so many emotions. I wrote this book in a month. I basically have to put all of my energy into a book and write it in a month in order to complete something. That's just the way that it works for me, that I found. Unfortunately, that's not how it works for editing. Editing takes a year, which is my least favorite part, as well as writing the synopsis apparently. But yeah, so during the throes of writing it within that period, I would have some highs because it would be yeah, I love writing the scene. This scene is amazing. This is so good. And then I think it's chapter, I want to say 37 or something. It starts off with the main character just being I'm so tired. And that's just me literally writing I'm so tired. I need this to wrap up. I need these characters to find their peace, basically. I love that line in the book because it's very much, it connects me and Bennett very closely in our journeys. But yeah, even going to the book launch for the final book, the host for it we were gearing up to go on stage, and she's like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, mm-hmm, as I'm trying to hold back tears, and I'm I can't cry on stage. So it's very bittersweet. I'm very happy to put these characters to rest, but I'm also sad to leave them behind. So there's a piece of me that's how can I still have insane conversations with these characters in my head? And then even at the launch party, someone's just is there a possibility of a spinoff? And I had thought about that. Even my editor was this doesn't have to be the last book. I'm no, this needs to be the last book. But there is a possibility of, okay, we could look at kids in the future within this organization, but we could also look at some of the adults within the book, and then we could do a prequel and look at them as they were kids and growing up. So there's 5 locations of the orphanage around the world, and one of them is in England. And I'm I could do one based in the 40s in England. That could be really fun. And I think just for my own peace of mind, this series is done. The characters are done. I think that would just bring us all the most amount of peace. Yeah.
Nice. So kind of related to that, I think we talked about this last time as well, but when you first started writing the first book and you first had this idea, did you always know that it had to be multiple novels or that it was going to be? Or did it kind of develop where you're oh no, this story it needs more books in order to be complete?
Yeah. So first, I mean, most of my readers know that I started writing this book or like thinking of this book while I was mucking out horse stalls at like 6 a.m. because horses didn't talk back and I needed
Mhm.
some entertainment. First, it was just a story that would like entertain me in my mind. And then when I was being goofy and starting to write it down, I tried really hard to cram the story into 3 books because like a trilogy just felt so perfect, a little stereotypical,
Mhm.
like just kind of a well-rounded YA package. Like, here you go, a trilogy.
Mhm.
And as much as I tried to shove their stories into 3 books, even looking at it now on the shelf, it has to be 4 books. There was
Mhm.
no way to make this any shorter. And honestly, there was no way to make it any longer. It wrapped itself up perfectly.
So, I mean, also related to that, as you were trying to like write this book and make sure that you were telling the full story, sometimes authors have to cut things. And like we all know that the whole thing of kill your darling, sometimes you have to get rid of stuff, even if you really like it, to make the plot work or the book flow.
Mhm.
Are there any plot lines or things that you had to take out of the book in order to wrap up the story or that you wish
Yeah.
you could explore more?
Okay. Well, I think the easiest way to like describe this is unfortunately in book 1, not in book 4. In book 1, at the orphanage for each year, there's 5 girls and 5 boys. Originally, I actually had 6 girls and 6 boys. So like I had to cut 2 characters completely. The girl's name was Georgie, and I can't remember what the boy's name was, but like his nickname was the Rifleman. So like I still have like character sheets for these 2 characters that never made it into the novel. But it's funny because then every single year at that school would have had to been multiplied because basically for 30 years I have a list of students for all of the years because they're all based off of all the kids are named off of like books. So like Bennett's year is named after Pride and Prejudice and so on and so forth. um Oh yeah, things taking out. Okay, sorry. That was like my little tangent. Yeah, I had to take away characters, which was honestly really good because too many characters in the scene was really hard to juggle. So getting rid of 2 of them was great. Often there would be scenes my editor would say like, "Okay, this doesn't actually help push the plot forward or this really seems unnecessary."
Mhm.
So again, in the first book, Bennett and Darcy, after they have a major breakthrough in training and in their friendship development and relationship and stuff, they go to a diner really early in the morning to celebrate and to goof off and again to just grow closer in their friendship and bond over the death of Bennett's brother. Originally, I had written that there was some gooner in the diner that stole from the cash register, and Darcy took him out back and just straight on murdered him.
Oh,
And
jeez.
like, I'm just like, yeah, this scene is amazing. We'll shove him in the trunk in the car. This is awesome. So then, what like was supposed to be this beautiful moment ended in an argument because Bennett didn't like that, and so my editor was like, "What was the point of all of that development to end in an argument?" And I'm just like, "Oh, darn it!" So then I had to completely rewrite this diner scene to help actually move the plot forward well. And so what was once Darcy murdering someone ended in like a teachable moment of Darcy. We got rid of the gooner and we decided to like put more emphasis on the waitress. And it's like, all right, Bennett, you suck at talking to girls. You're a teenage boy. You need to go flirt with the waitress. So then it just turned into like a fun scene, which like spoiler for people who have read none of the books, the waitress comes back in book 3. So then that's kind of like a fun little thing again to like drive the plot forward. I'm trying to think about book 4, but yeah, book 4 had been spinning around in my head for so long that all of the scenes they just lined up so perfectly, which was a huge blessing. Obviously, a lot of editing for like grammar errors because even in my English, like speaking out loud, if I say something wrong, my friends are like, that's not the right word. I'm like, my editor would have fixed it. It's fine.
Excellent. So, kind of like the reverse of that, what's your favorite line from your book that you were really happy to keep, or a favorite scene?
Oh, okay. Ooh, favorite scene. I'm trying to think specifically of book 4. Um, oh man, this like it feels so out of place. I'm not going to quote the line perfectly. It's like a tiny little paragraph, but my book does not have a lot of romance or anything. Like that is not the plot at all. It's like a subplot kind of thing of like, ooh, teenage romance kind of thing. And so in the 4th book, there's a scene of Bennett having a moment with one of the characters, his wish that I wish the world wasn't falling apart and like I wish we could turn into basically statues and like what if our love could be put into museum, what that would look like. And I think that's one of the most beautiful things I've ever written. I'm like, it feels so out of place in a teenage spy novel. But then also every single time Darcy says the word idiot to Bennett, I'm like, he, this is my favorite. Yeah. And then I'm not creative in the sense of like coming up with names and stuff. Obviously, like I named Bennett's class after Pride and Prejudice. So when I have to come up with other names, my favorite thing is to look around at like friends and family. I'm like, ooh, their kid is named Ellie. I'm going to put that in the book. So like, I love any scene where like a friend or family pops in and I know about it, but my readers don't know about it. So that's fun for me.
Can you tell us a little bit about your writing process? Did you have the entire story plotted out when you first sat down to write the first book, or did it sort of slowly emerge over time?
So yes and no. Again, like I talked about how I really wanted it to be 3, but I couldn't shove it in to 3, so it needed to be 4. So when I started writing book 1, I already knew it was going to be 4 books. I kind of knew the major, like, okay, this happens in book 1, this happens in book 2, 3, 4. But there was the in-between stuff of like, okay, well, how do we get to that plot point? What leads up to that? That was still needed some of the gaps to be filled in as I was writing. And I kind of always knew the ending that I wanted to take as well for the whole series. Because these teenagers have been through so much, I kind of looked at YA books that I fell in love with and looked at the endings that they were given. And I'm like, okay, how do I give them that little bit of peace as well? Because yeah, I've put these teenagers through the ringers. They deserve to have like a little bit of downtime, for goodness sake. So I very much love my ending. Oh, there was one other thing I was going to say. Oh, yeah, my writing process. I am not a role model when it comes to my writing process. Yeah. So what I do for a solid month is I become a hermit because I still have a day job. I go do my day job and then I come home and basically from like 3:30 until like midnight, I write my writing goal for the day in order to complete my book in a month or less. Because I think for my 3rd book, I completed it in 3 weeks kind of thing. So for that month-ish period, I'm not necessarily like a grouch, but I'm eating terribly. I am not exercising. I am craving a walk. I drink an insane amount of Coke, which is funny because my Bennett drinks an insane amount of Coke. So I'm like, it's fine. He's doing it too. So like I get no sleep. I am not taking care of myself. So absolutely, I am not a role model for other writers when it comes to my writing process. I am hoping in the future I can develop a better habit. Unfortunately, for book 3 and 4, this is just what happened and it worked. So yeah, I don't promote that.
Excellent. So as you have your writing process, has the process of writing gotten easier as you've written more books?
Oh, yeah. For me, it has. Because like for book 1, from starting to like, because I didn't know I was stumbling into becoming a writer and like being a published author kind of thing. Like at first it was just like, it was an interesting hobby on the side that I didn't know was a thing. Because I never went to university for all of this. Like if I could go back in time, I don't know if I still would. A part of me thinks I would, but sometimes I talk to people who have gone into university for creative writing and have done nothing with it. So I'm like, we all have our own paths. But anyways, so from starting to write to publishing for book 1 took 5 years. For book 2, from starting to write to publishing took 2 years. Whereas 3 and 4 was obviously a lot quicker because of this. Like I can pop out a book in a month if I sit down and focus. I can't forget. I've trained off again, so I can't remember what the question is, but I'm going to say this one thing. So for book, sometimes like the question is, well, why don't you just consistently keep writing? Because that would be the easiest path of just I often promote like just write 300 words a day because then you have 300 words more than you had yesterday. And that seems like such an attainable goal. Like 300 words could theoretically take you 30 minutes. Unfortunately, I never take that advice. I wish I would. I need a major life event in order for me to sit down and focus on my book. So in March, not this March, last March, before I started writing, my cat died. And so she was like 11 months old. I was so distraught. And so I won't say how she died because it was very brutal and it was very emotional. And so off of that emotions and sadness and rage of my cat dying, I sat down and I wrote my book. So my cat is featured in my book as a little homage to her because I was so upset. So yeah, that's my writing process.
Thank you. I like that you can use writing as a way to like also process emotions and things like that, as you were kind of getting at. I know we talked about that in the last podcast as well, about using writing to sort of express yourself and like put yourself in the book. Because I know that there's two kind of philosophies. There's some writers where I'm like, I am the author and my work is my work, and the two shall not meet. And then there's other writers where like, no, I am myself and my writing is me.
Yeah, I kind of am very envious of the authors that keep themselves, like differentiate themselves between their work and themselves. Because when I insert myself so much into the story, like Bennett goes through depression because I went through depression. In book 2, Bennett was super angry because I was super angry. And like this, that, and the other. It's so much harder getting feedback from like editors and readers because I'm like, ooh, that's a piece of my soul right there. But it's also kind of cool because like I have this being the last book, sorry if I'm like skipping to the last question, I haven't seen it.
Oh, no.
This being the last book in the series, I'm trying to figure out, okay, what's next for me? And there's been a couple of passages where I'm like, I could go this way and this really interests me and I love this. And I could go this way. This would be a standalone. It would be really fun to get out. I absolutely love this idea. But then something more recent popped up and I'm like, what is this? And because of the certain things that I'm going through in my life, I'm like, this feels more applicable to me. Let's work on this and put these two things on the back burner. And it's not that the other ideas for stories are wrong. It's just not the time for them.
Yeah, that makes sense. You touched on criticism, and like, I also wanted to ask, what's the toughest piece of criticism that you ever received that sort of really helped you grow as an author? Like, it's maybe not something that you wanted to hear, but it was probably something that maybe you needed to hear in order to become a really great author.
Oh, shoot. I mean, there's been plenty of instances where like I've gotten like I remember the first time someone told me, "Oh yeah, I didn't finish the book." It was the first book, like so this was 5 years ago already, and like, "Oh yeah, I didn't like it, so I didn't finish it." I'm like, "Oh, okay." But I'm trying to think of even like an editor. When I handed in my first manuscript, one of my editor's comments was like, again, I had no background in writing. I have no idea why anyways, I have no idea why my first book was published. My editor came back to me and was like, do you know what a comma is? And I'm like, I don't know how to use one. That was like, oh my gosh, I still have my first draft of that book. There's not a single comma in that thing. Like, no. It is like a grade 4 wrote that. Actually, no, grade 4. It's a grade 1 wrote that book because a grade 4 should know how to use a comma. I don't know why I didn't pay attention in school, but I'm trying to think of an actual piece of criticism that most of the advice is social media related, just because it can be really sad on there because people are just really mean. So yeah, writing has been mostly like positive of like, hey, you use the word that a lot, we can fix that. I'm like, oh, perfect. Teach me how to fix that kind of thing. But yeah, social media is usually a little bit of a minefield to wander. So a lot of mental health care around that.
Yeah. So switching gears kind of away from writing life, what do you like to do in your spare time when you're not writing?
I work a lot. I don't mean to be a workaholic. It just kind of happens. I like work and I have like, and I volunteer, but I'm also a farmer. So then that also keeps me busy. So like right now, my horse is outside my window. I ride horses. I read so many books. I love hanging out with friends and going to coffee shops or to wineries. I don't know how to sit still. If I don't have plans in my day, I kind of like lie in my bed. I'm like, what? I don't have a plan. What am I going to do today? So I am very good at, I'm not good at being spontaneous because I am already booked all the way to the end of August kind of thing.
Right.
So there is no room for spontaneity in my schedule, which is unfortunately the way it works with me. Even my sister's like, we need to schedule something. I'm like, I have a date on September 12th. And she's like, I'll take it. Yeah. So we are blessed that we have some people who live on our property with us. It's just such a huge blessing that like I can go outside and sit outside with a can of Coke and all of a sudden like there'll be 4 other people just joining me and we just chit chat throughout the afternoon if we have like a free moment. So yeah, my hobbies are just kind of going with the flow, but again, huge reader. I can't devour books fast enough. I'm like, in 2 book clubs. I say that really loosely because my book clubs only consist of me and one other person, which is honestly really fun because then we don't have like, oh no, every like 3 weeks I have to like finish a book for book club. It's more open-handed of like, hey, when you're done the book, let me know. So yeah.
And yeah, you did touch a little bit on if you have any plans for another series or like a spin-off series and that kind of thing. Do you have any in the immediate, or is it still kind of you're thinking about it? You have plans to develop a plan.
Oh, okay. So yeah, no spin-off or anything. Like the Agent Bennet Saga, they're put to rest.
Done.
All of those characters. I mean, in 20 years, if someone offers me $1 billion, I'd probably cave. But yeah, for right now, I'm working on a different series. It's bringing me a lot of joy. It's also finding the space to write is really hard because I don't have the privilege of putting my head down and writing it within a month unless I want to sacrifice my sleep big time of like, I only had 3 hours of sleep last night, which I'm trying to be a little bit more of a healthy writer. So we'll see how that works. Right now, there's no Coke in the house, Coca-Cola. So I'm having to rely on coffee. So we'll see how this goes. Yeah.
Excellent. And then just my last question before we sign off here. What other advice do you have for new writers who are maybe getting interested or have an idea to write their own story? Do you have any advice for new young authors and our teens?
Okay. So it's funny because I kind of touched on this in the sense that like, oh, I had this one idea and then I also had this other idea, but neither of them were perfect. So I'm working on this other idea. But the problem with this as well is that for one idea, I have like 10,000 words written for it. For this other idea over here, I have like 6,000 words written for it and like a bunch of character descriptions. And I've jumped ship on both of those to this completely other idea that I'm like, okay, now I need to commit to this one. I find so often writers jump from story to story because their excitement has shifted to a new idea. One of my biggest suggestions for writers is commit to your story because like, if you're not going to sit down and focus on one story at a time, you're never going to finish one. You're going to partially finish 5. And like, even at that, it's mostly partially started 5. So yeah, sit down, commit to one story. I have one girl who came to my book launch party and she's been inspired by like the idea of like, okay, I just need to sit down and write one story. And I'm like, yeah, you got this. And so every time I see her now, because I'm blessed to be in her life as well. She's like, okay, I wrote this for this character. I'm like, great. So every week she's been able to like stay accountable to me of like how she's focusing on this one story. That's also another thing. Sorry, I'm going to keep going. Accountability is such a huge thing. One of the reasons why like I finished the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th book is because I had to stay accountable to my readers. They were expecting another book to come out. So that's one of the big problems with writing your first book is you have no accountability. So even if you ask your friend like, hey, once a week, I need to hand you 500 words to this story, just so that you know I have finished 500 words and I'm 500 words closer to finishing the story. So yeah, accountability and commitment is a huge thing.
Excellent. Thank you so much. So thank you so much for joining us today as well. For those of you that are listening, you can borrow the latest book of the series or the entire series at FVRL.bc.ca. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
To get personalized reading suggestions from Fraser Valley Regional Library staff, visit the Suggested Reads page on our website and click on My Reading Advisor. Tell us what you like to read, and we'll email you with some great book options chosen just for you.